It's time for Baby and Toddler Instructions with host Blythe Lipman. Blythe is a nationally renowned infant and toddler expert who has over 30 years' experience helping moms and dads regain their sanity, teaching them how to survive, and giving them the confidence they need to be the best parents ever. From sleeping to crying to potty training to choosing a preschool and so much more. If you're a parent, Baby and Toddler Instructions is the show you've been looking for. Now here's your host, Blythe Lipman.
Well, good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever in the world you might be. Thanks so much for tuning in to Baby and Toddler Instructions. How is everyone today? I hope you're enjoying spring, even if you just have a few buds popping up. I know, the middle of our country is having such bad weather. I mean, I hope it's springtime for everybody soon because I love getting up in the morning, seeing the sunshine. I go out to my little patio. My herbs are still alive. I talk to them every day because I love having fresh herbs when I cook. And hey, you know what? It's a great thing to do with your little ones. Let them plant a flower in a flower pot and water it if the weather's not great, or do it outside. You know, everything is a teaching moment when you have little ones, and they're like sponges. I'm going to share an article with you today about the airport, which is going to show you that everything can be a teaching moment and it can be fun. And you know what? That's how you make your memories. But anyway, today my guest is going to be Sari Powazek. She's from Toys and Playtime Oasis. And we have some great topics to talk about. In this crazy electronic age, how do we make the time and handle our little ones with outside time? And, sometimes you go, I can't do it. I'm tired. We work. You get home from work. There's no time to go outside. But anyway, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about technology. We're going to talk about stores are going out of business. Kids don't get to go to the toy stores so much. The little stores that are great, and Sari has a wonderful toy store. But we're going to talk about all those things. Also, if you're listening live and you have a question or comment during the show, you can call the toll-free number at 877-864-4869. And if you're listening to a podcast, which they're available 24/7, on TogiNet, on mybestparentingadvice.com, on iTunes, and on Stitcher. Well, they're working on Stitcher. They're having a little issue with that. You can always contact me through my office, too, which is 480-510-1453. If you ever want to be a guest, or if you want to have your own show, it's so much fun. Call TogiNet.com and talk to them. So recalls, there was one this week. The Discount School Supply recalled the children's waterproof bibs. They're called Environments brand. The bib has a waterproof plastic backing that can separate from the terry cloth fabric, creating a suffocation hazard to a child. That's pretty scary. Anyway, I have all the information and the latest recalls on my website, mybestparentingadvice.com. I always update them each week. And again, I know I'm a broken record, but I say it every single week. If you have something that's been recalled, please don't try to fix it yourself. The companies recall them. They'll give you a refund. They'll send you a kit to repair something. Don't try to repair something if it's been recalled. It takes a second for something to happen, an accident. And it's so good that they do recall these things because you know what? A lot of them are made by machines, most of them, and sometimes machines don't do things right. So that was the recall. Also, I wanted to share, this was pretty interesting, excuse me, the most popular names to consider in 2017 from the StarKidsProducts.com. You have to hear some of these names, and it's interesting because when you do go to name your child, it's personal. There's no judgment. You know what? It's your child, but just remember they have to have this name their whole life. My first name is Blythe. I hated that name when I was a kid, but once I grew up, I liked it. It was different. So anyway, here are some names to consider in 2017. The edgy names: Atticus, Axel, Brax, Hayes, Flora, Pike, Otto, Roscoe, Tennyson, Fenton, and Zola, if you want a peaceful name to instill peace in your child. Stella, Frederick. I don't know if Frederick's peaceful. Tolly, Paxton, Axel, Jonah, Milo, Dove, Irene, Serenity, Shalom, and Shalima. Those are supposed to be peaceful names. You know, it's all personal. If it's not peaceful to you, I don't know about Frederick again being peaceful. Also, you can name your child for characteristics you wish upon them, such as strength, bravery, or justice. Angus, Bridget, Zale, Alden, Irving, Chara, Maddox, Mika, Zara, Sage, Reiner, Matilda, that's an old name, and Baldwin. So I thought I would share those with you. They made me smile, and you know what? It's exciting when you're going to have a baby and you have to name them. Again, it's personal, and you do what feels right to you. So let's see what else. Well, I said I was going to share an article with you. This was pretty interesting. Excuse me, traveling with your little ones. You know, summer's coming, and traveling with the little ones can sometimes be the biggest hassle, even before you leave the house. And there was a New York Times story this past Sunday called Security Lines and Flight Delays. He's in paradise. So here is what this article said. It just really made me chuckle. It said that this man was taking his son on a trip on an airplane. And, you know, that can be a hassle. You pack, and then you have to go through the security. Anyway, his 3-year-old son, his name is Holt, and he said his favorite thing to say is, let's talk about airports, infrastructure. And the father goes, again? Well, let's play what's your favorite ground crew vehicle. Wow, it sounds like a lot of fun. Anyway, when we travel, the annoying parts of air travel that adults normally dread turn out to be the highlight for this little 3-year-old's trip. For instance, the parking lot shuttle or the self-service kiosk and the baggage drop-off where the baggage goes down the belt. This child was in cloud 9, this father writes. He loves the retractable belt stanchion. Well, Dad didn't know that's what that belt, you know, that keeps you in line like at Disney World or when you're going up to security. Anyway, so when the airport employee rerouted the line by uncoupling and recoupling the stanchion belt, he said you would have thought the worker was Moses himself parting the Red Sea. This little boy's jaw dropped open and he was jiggling in his shoes. He was so excited. So what happened with this flight is they stood for hours. The flight was delayed, and the father was a little annoyed, but all of a sudden he figured out that his child was in paradise with everything, looking out the window and running up and down and talking about the different vehicles. Anyway, the plane finally showed up, and they couldn't get the jet bridge up there, and they ended up having to stay overnight in this airport. And it's so cute because the end of the article says how the little boy wants to talk about everything at the airport again. So, you know, like I said at the beginning of the show, there's lots of teaching moments, whether it's your garden, whether you're at the airport, whether you're at the grocery store. So I love that article because little Holt loved the airport. So take a breath when you're traveling this summer and look around and be there with your little one and watch the joy in their eyes if they're doing something that they love. So on that note, I'm going to share a couple of tips from my book, Help, My Toddler Came Without Instructions, from my chapter called Oh, the Places We'll Go. It's my chapter about traveling. If you're going to be traveling and your toddler doesn't sleep with a white noise machine, purchase one a few weeks before and put it in his or her room before you go on your trip. Because sometimes if you are in a room that's like next to an elevator or it's, you know, you hear people walking up and down the hallway, that white noise machine will take everything out of there. It won't wake your little one up. They'll hear the white noise. Or you know what? You can play music from your iPhone, but start doing some music a couple weeks before or the white noise. So if you do happen to stay in a place that's noisy, it won't wake your little one up. It'll drown out all that noise. Also, don't forget to bring extra batteries, battery chargers, whatever you're bringing, you know, to entertain your little one. You can never have too many batteries. You can never have too many, you know, if they have a lovey, this is one thing that's so important that I always tell parents. If your child sleeps with a little lovey or stuffed animal or favorite car, buy 2. Because if it gets lost and you're out of town, chances are you may not find another one, and that could really be tough when you're on your trip. Also, whether you're going to be traveling by plane or car or bus or whatever you're going to be traveling with, bring lots of snacks, lots of healthy snacks. You know what? You can play games with goldfish crackers on a plane. They come in colors, crackers, and also the sippy cup. This is a really important one, and then that is all I'm going to share from this chapter. This really important tip is if your child uses a sippy cup, only put water in it. Because if you put juice in it or you give them a squeezed juice when you're in your car or on the plane, if they spill it, it is such a sticky mess, and you have to sit there the rest of the trip all sticky, and your child's not happy, you're not happy, and it's hard to clean up. Anyway, those are a few tips from my book, Help, My Toddler Came Without Instructions. I have a lot more. You can get my book on Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com. It's on Audible if you like to listen to your books. And also, if you get your book from me directly, if you live in Arizona, I can sign it or send me a note, and I also send out my books myself. But those are some of the tips. I have chapters on everything from potty training, choosing a preschool, anything you can think of, runny nose season, play groups. That's in Help, My Toddler Came Without Instructions. And my other books are Help, My Baby Came Without Instructions, and More Help, My Baby Came Without Instructions. Because you know what? We all know they do not come with instructions. I'm thinking that I'm going to write another book, Help, My Husband Came Without Instructions, My Dog Came Without Instructions. Anyway, if you have favorite tips, please email them to me at babyinstructions@cox.net, or go to my website, mybestparentingadvice.com, and you can contact me through there. If you have a favorite parenting tip, send it to me, because I'm thinking that's going to be the next book, Favorite Parenting Tips, because everybody has them. You have great ones that I've never thought of, even though I have lots of my own tips from my 40-plus years in the business. Just love it. Anyway, we are going to the break, and we come back. We'll be with my guest, Sari Powazek. Please stay with us.
We'll be right back with more Help, My Baby Came Without Instructions. It's Baby and Toddler Instructions with Blythe Lipman on TogiNet. We'll be right back right after these.
It's words you never heard.
Big girls don't cry, right? According to a recent Wall Street Journal article by Dennis Nishi, there's a stigma attached to turning on the waterworks at the office. 61% of men who reported crying at work cited personal reasons, an illness in the family, the death of a pet is the catalyst, while 58% of women said it was something that happened at work, being unfairly blamed or criticized. Men are like mascara. They run at the first sign of hubbub. That's another word for crying. What's the word for the fear of intense emotion? Zelophobia. Women may have a better excuse for crying than men, as females have higher levels of prolactin, which encourages the production of tears, making it easier to be known as a lachrymist, or someone who cries at the drop of a hat.
It's words you never heard.
I'm Carolyn Davidson, and you can have fun challenging your words you never heard vocabulary with my free app, Too Funny for Word.
This is the TogiNet Radio Network, broadcasting quality programming to the world.
It's the Fitness Minute with fitness expert Annette Hammond.
Did you know that the average teenager drinks twice as much soda as milk? Since 1983, sugar consumption in the U.S. is up 28%. Why is that? There are several reasons, but one of the most common is soft drinks. 20-ounce beverages have become the norm, and it's not surprising to find that 43% of our sugar comes from drinks. Sugar is blamed for poor nutritional diets. USDA data shows that people whose diets are high in added sugar eat less calcium, fiber, iron, protein, and many other important nutrients. Fat-free foods are also a culprit. Since sugar is fat-free, many people tend to think it's okay to eat as much as they want. Remember that just because a food is fat-free does not mean that it's calorie-free also. For the Fitness Minute, I'm Annette Hammond.
Welcome back to Baby and Toddler Instructions with Blythe Lipman on TogiNet, the hour for all moms with little ones to come for great advice, encouragement, and great ideas for all new parents. Now, back to the show with Blythe Lipman.
Well, welcome back to Baby and Toddler Instructions. I'm so excited you can listen to the show today. I have a wonderful guest. Let me tell you about her. Her name is Sari Powazek. She has a master's in early education and believes that children learn through play. The first 5 years are so important, and developmental and cognitive skills they learn by doing, touching, and working problems out through play. It's so important to talk and read to your child, and we're going to talk about this and avoid electronic and screen time. We have to talk about this because it's an electronic age, and yes, there's great apps, and yes, there's great learning tools, and I know this is the way of the world, but also play is so important, and you can't not sit down and play with them. Sari and her husband Sam have this wonderful store in Scottsdale called Toys and Playtime Oasis. They have this indoor play. It's like an indoor playground. They have treadmills that are your little one size and climbing toy, you name it, they have it. Blocks and mirrors. And anyway, I am so excited that Sari's on my show today because we have lots of things to talk about. And also, I was just talking to Sari during the break, and she has a new furry child in her life, and I'm very excited for you. Sari, welcome to the show. Welcome to Winston, the new baby, the new puppy.
Well, thank you, Blythe. I'm glad to be here.
Well, thanks so much for being on the show.
Oh, my pleasure. Anytime.
So where do we start? I mean, I talked in the beginning of the show, I was talking about the fact how I love to get up in the morning. I have planted an herb garden, which I do every year on my patio. And I was talking about how it's so easy just to do that with your little one. Plant a flower or an herb or tomatoes or, there's so much with electronics. Where do we start with this?
By turning the electronics off. That's really the best way to start. And that includes from the top down. Unfortunately, we're so plugged in anymore that we don't seem to have time to relax and smell the roses. I mean, my husband, who isn't even into electronics, if he forgets his phone, he goes back to get it. And he hardly even uses his phone. It's just we become so used to having this by our side. And yes, they're good. A new appendage, as he says. We're constantly bombarded with tweets and emails. And why do they have to take precedence over spending 10 minutes with your child digging in the dirt? If the phone beeps, leave it in your pocket. If it's urgent, they'll call. If it's urgent, they'll call back. There's nothing more important than spending time with your little ones because they grow too fast.
They do, and, you don't realize it when you're a new parent. I didn't. I thought, because you're so tired, you think, when are they going to grow up, and when are they going to sleep, and when are they going to do all these things? But they do. You turn around, all of a sudden they're at school. Or you turn around, all of a sudden they're having kids of their own. It's like, wait a minute, where did the years go?
Right, but let's not even go that fast. If we give them the electronics, if we give them their own iPads, if we give them their own TVs in their rooms, what's going to happen the minute they have control over it? They're going to veg out in it. There's something, it has been proven that video games are addictive. It triggers something in the pleasure center. Playing with these electronics, the flashing, the lights, the colors, the realism, it draws you in. And there's nothing wrong with electronics. Sometimes I'll play games with my grandkids, and my daughter in the beginning would say, Mom, I thought you were against this. And I said, no, it depends on what you're doing, how long you're doing it, and if you're doing it together and what you're doing.
That's the key.
If they ask you, what a T-Rex looks like, it's fabulous to pull it up on the computer.
It's the timing, isn't it? It's the timing that you don't do it all day or you don't do it for 2 hours.
Exactly. I mean, think about going out for dinner and everybody's plugged in. Why bother to go out? You go out to enjoy each other's company. You go out to talk to each other, to play a simple card game while you're waiting, to count oyster crackers.
Or the sugar. I remember with my kids, they played with the sugar. They took the sugar. Or we always used to play that game when they got older to see if you could balance a salt shaker with a grain of salt. Did you ever do that?
No.
You can actually do it with a certain kind of salt shaker. But we used to do things that we didn't have electronics at the table. We were doing things together, as you say.
Exactly. And that's what we seem to be lacking. I mean, you take a look at some of these young children, you put them in the backyard, and they don't know what to do.
It's interesting because when I was on the computer yesterday, and I am on the computer because I do all my work on it, there was a little picture it said outside time today, and it showed like 6 kids, of course they were older, maybe 7, 8, on their steps, and they were all sitting next to each other, but they were all looking at their phones. And I thought, wait a minute, what happened to sticks and dirt and stones and getting dirty and all of that?
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of studies that are shown that if you put children 6, 7, 8 years old in a neighborhood with other children and they go knocking on each other's doors, that they learn how to create games, they figure out what to do together. But if they all have phones, and first of all, why is a 7, 8, 9-year-old, why do they have their own phone?
Yeah, that was my question in my head when I was looking at that picture. I thought, why do they need a phone? I mean, when do kids need a phone? If they're older and they're latchkey children, a lot of people don't even have house phones anymore. They just have cell phones. And I always think to myself, God forbid there's an emergency and the cell towers don't work anymore. Or something happens. When do we need a phone, and who needs the phone? Because, let's face it, the preschools have computers. A lot of the kindergartens, they have computer time in the schools. So you can't not do electronics with your little ones. But what do you think the right age is? Or
I
is
don't
there
know,
an
but
age?
I know a lot of the elementary schools are starting to tell the parents, you know what, they get enough computers at school. Keep them off the computer. When they have to do their 20 minutes of reading at night, it's not on the computer. Give them a book to hold in their hands. Instill the love of turning pages. I mean, there are children that do not know how to turn a page in a book. They think you poke a button or you slide, and it turns.
Or you rip it, or they don't know.
No. And that's okay if they rip a book when they're young. They're learning. But there's board books, so you don't really have to rip it. They're easy for the little ones to turn. But, these board books, they're thick cardboard books.
Right.
We just got in
puzzles? What about puzzles?
I had someone tell me that their child loves to do puzzles. I said, that's great. They said, yeah, you should see them on the computer. I said, that's not doing puzzles. That is touching an object, and it goes to where it belongs. A puzzle is when they're holding a piece of wood in their hands, and they're figuring out where it goes, and they have to twist and they have to turn. People don't realize, but puzzles are out-of-the-box thinking. If the child can think out of the box, then the child can learn. If the child cannot think out of the box, then the child is only memorizing. You need to have that tactile sense. You need to have the visual, and you need to have the trial and error of putting it and going, nope, and turning it, nope. And, that's extremely important.
So
and
here's
a lot of people
question.
don't get it.
Here's a question. I saw a couple days ago, this. It was I don't know what to call it. It was a puzzle, but what you did is you bought the parts and you put the app onto the tablet, and they had to match the puzzle pieces onto the tablet. And I looked at that and I thought, well, you're not really putting it into a groove. You're putting it on top of a screen. What do you think of that?
Right.
I didn't like it.
You know what?
Personally.
I have seen a lot of different toys for the toddlers. I mean, that's really a lot of what we're going to be specializing in the new location. And I have always looked at it, and I asked my customers of toddlers, and their comment to me was, this is not what we come to you for. We don't want the electronics. We want the manipulatives. We want the children to sit down and play with a puzzle or put shapes inside a shape sorter. We don't want the electronics. Have they sold well? You know, some stores, if that's what they sell and that's what they push, then yes. Could I sell it? No, very doubtful. I don't even want to, because that's not where my focus and where my education is.
No, you know, and you think about it, you know, people say, well, why do they need to learn how to do a puzzle? And I'm thinking about something as simple as cutting a sandwich, and you say to them, I'm going to make a triangle, and the child doesn't know what a triangle is, or they don't know what a square is, or, you know, it's so important for the motor skills and the colors, and you know, we have this discussion all the time.
But there are some fantastic games on the iPad for teaching shapes and colors and things like that. And there's nothing wrong. Mom needs to take a shower, and so she, you know, sits the baby down and gives the baby 5 minutes on it. That's okay, even though pediatrics says no electronics before 2. That is, in my opinion, unrealistic, because we know it's not going to happen. So if you're going to give your child an electronic toy, make sure it is worth its weight in gold, because those are 5 minutes that your child's not going to get back. And make sure, one of the most important things with any of the electronics, it's slow moving, it's got a beginning, a middle, and an end, because so many studies are showing now that the reason for hyperactivity, and I said this years ago, the reason for hyperactivity is that everything is so fast-moving that the brain does not have time to make the connection from front to back.
You know, well, we're fast-moving, too. I have to interrupt you because we're going for a commercial break. Talk about fast-moving. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Okay.
We'll be right back with more help. For help, my baby came without instructions. It's Baby and Toddler Instructions with Blythe Lipman on TogiNet. We'll be right back right after these. Information about book publishing is power. The power to change your authoring life, and the power to change the lives of your readers. So join us for Your Guide to Book Publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles. Thursdays at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 Pacific. You'll hear about statistics, scenarios, and strategies on what to do now. As the book shepherd, Dr. Judith Briles is in. And each week, she will include publishing professionals that will reveal tips and secrets to the author's journey. If there is a book in you want to listen, learn, and yes, call in with your questions each week. For more on Judith and what she can do for you, check out her website, thebookshepherd.com. It's Your Guide to Book Publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. Brought to you by Author You and The Book Shepherd with your host, Dr. Judith Briles. Thursday evenings at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific.
It's the Fitness Minute with fitness expert Annette Hammond.
Fox News recently reported that exercise slows the onset of memory loss and dementia, and that losing your memory is not an inevitable part of life. Multiple research shows having a healthy lifestyle and staying mentally challenged may lower your chance for diminished memory. Exercise counteracts the brain shrinkage that occurs with age. Studies have shown that while older exercisers gain 2% of brain volume, non-exercisers lost brain tissue. The benefits of exercise amass early, and the Journal of Sports Science and Medicine found that people in their 20s who exercised on a regular basis had a better memory compared to those that did not exercise. Exercise in midlife can significantly reduce the incidence of dementia 3 decades later. For the Fitness Minute, I'm Annette Hammond, keeping you healthy, happy, and fit.
Welcome back to Baby and Toddler Instructions with Blythe Lipman on TogiNet, the hour for all moms with little ones to come for great advice, encouragement, and great ideas for all new parents. Now, back to the show with Blythe Lipman.
Well, welcome back to Baby and Toddler Instructions. I am here today with my wonderful guest, Sari Powazek from Toys and Playtime Oasis. And before the break, we're talking a lot about electronics. And I was sharing with her during the break my grandson, who is almost 2. I can't believe it. He's almost 2 already. I was talking about the fact that he does like to watch some movies, and his favorite right now is Moana, but because my daughter does have to make dinner, or she does have to take a shower, or whatever it is she has to do. And, so he will watch this movie, but at different times of the movie, he'll get up and he'll dance to a song, or he'll run around. And, my daughter will say to him, look at the elephant, or look at the green, whatever it is. She will sit and watch it with him as well. And also, he loves outside time, so you can use electronics and you can do outside time. It's just where you put your time, how you divide your day up. Sometimes it's so tough during the week because if you and your partner work and you come home, there isn't that energy to go outside. But I have to say this, and I know Sari will agree, sometimes when you are so tired and you go outside and get some air, you feel a lot better. So what do you think about the movies? We're streaming all these movies now.
Well, he's almost 2, and if he does not, if you're using it as bonding time, cuddle time, learning, exercise, he's getting all of that in that movie. There's, like I said, there's nothing wrong with the electronics. There's nothing wrong with a half an hour TV show. My grandsons watched Bubble Guppies. If you've never watched that with a 2-year-old, it's a fabulous show on PBS. But it's the same routine every day. Every program has the same format. The kids know what to expect. It's the same characters. It always has a good moral and storyline. And there's nothing wrong with it. It gives them time to rejuvenate you. Sometimes when a child is just really cranky and if you don't divert their attention, it's only going to escalate. Right. That's when something like that is good. And that's when you can sit and cuddle and just relax together.
And it's okay to take that time with your little one. Dinner can always wait. It can always be, you don't have to put yourself on such a stringent schedule. I know from all my years in doing this, and I know you'll agree, when you're a working parent, it does make it easier if you're on a schedule. And
yes.
But it's also okay to not do the schedule sometimes. If you're a little later or a little earlier, it's not going to make the biggest difference in the world. It may even make you feel better.
Yeah, because not only do you know what to expect, your child knows what to expect. So when you say, you can watch Bubble Guppies while Mommy cooks dinner, the child knows that. And in today's homes, most of the time you have a great room, so your TV is really close to your kitchen, and you can see each other and talk to each other. But this gives you time to do what you need to do, and it also gives your little one time to just chill out. Because remember, they're 2 years old or however old they are, they've had a very long day already, even though they've had a nap. It's still a long day.
It is a long day. And when they're in preschool, I know, sometimes parents will say, well, if he just played all day. Play is tough. Play is like work. They are tired.
Yeah, play is the way children learn. They learn through play. And the first 5 years, the brain goes through a tremendous amount of growth and learning. I think it's something like 80%. I don't remember the percentage because I'm not a stats person. But so the more you put in, the more they retain. It's just amazing to watch some of these little ones. I get to see little ones all day long, and I get to see them as they progress. And we've got so many different levels of things in here that each time they come in, or even every couple of months, all of a sudden they're playing with something entirely different or in an entirely different way, because it's something like if they're playing with magnets, they may just be at 1-year-old putting them together and taking them apart. Now, mom has sat with them or dad has sat with them and they've built some things together. Now, all of a sudden at 1.5, mom is sitting and watching and the little one is doing some simple building. It's all a matter of experimenting, exploring, showing them, being involved with them, and just enjoying their growth.
Right, and watching, and don't tell them how to do something. Watch and see what they do with it. You know, it's interesting. And when Alex, my grandson, was a little over 1, I went into Sari and I said, you know what, I need a present for him. I need something for him. And I bought this great little, do you call it a bike? The one with a little blue seat. There's a pink one and a blue one.
I call it a walker bike.
Anyway, it's so cute, and I thought, you know, he's not going to know what to do with that, and he didn't. You know, we put him on it, and we showed him how to push, and it's so much fun to watch him now because he's tooling all over the house on this little bike now, and he tries to put a car on it that falls off, and, you know, just watching them change and have the imagination to do different things with the toys that sometimes we don't think of.
Right. And that's part of the exploration. You know, one of the things, our goal in life, as a parent, what our goal is to raise our children to be creative, strong, independent, and to be able to take care of themselves, but not to move too far away. Unfortunately, my daughter missed that last step. But you know what? She is a strong-willed, very conscientious, very thoughtful adult. She is giving a lot back to society in what she does. She is teaching her twins that people are less fortunate than them, and you have to be respectful of them. You have to help if possible. So she's teaching them to donate their time, as well as food, things like that. We show them by example how important they are to us and how important being good human beings are. And that comes by being connected with your child, not being connected with your phone. And sometimes I see parents in here sometimes, and they come in, and I can see that they are so wiped. They have a new baby. The 2-year-old is driving mom up the wall because the 2-year-old is going through new baby syndrome. And all of a sudden, you know, and I explain to parents, hey, this is a perfect spot, because if you're feeding or nursing the baby at home, what's the first thing your 2-year-old going to do? Create a scene. Here, the 2-year-old completely ignores them. You can see them relaxed. You can see them just veg out. You can see the stress leave their face. If you teach your child how to entertain themselves, if you teach your child how to play with themselves, it gives you a breather too, where you can step back for a minute and go, wow, I'm really doing a good job.
You know, that's such a great message, because so many parents are so stressed, and that's the other side of the coin. You do not have to be sitting next to them 24/7. You can be sitting on the couch and watching them play with something.
Yes, but you have to teach them how to do that. You can't be a helicopter parent. You can't run the minute they fall down. They're going to fall down a lot, and they need to be able to pick themselves up. Now, granted, if they're hurt, you go running. But if they just have, you know, a bump on the head because they bent over and knocked their head on a toy, they'll survive that.
That's a tough part too for parents, you know, because they want to immediately run over, and you can go over and say you're fine,
especially for working parents, or you say, oh, just blow it off, and you go and you blow. So that they blow it away, blow the boo-boo away. And, you know, just the silly act of blowing on a boo-boo is, you know, sometimes it's enough to make them laugh and forget it. I mean, I see children where they fall down and they'll look to mom, and if mom ignores them, they get up. I see children fall down, look to mom, and if mom has a look of consternation on her face because he may have hurt himself, they start screaming. So it's really a learned process in many cases.
for all of us, for both of us, for a parent too.
Yes. And especially if you're a working parent, you want to spend time with your child, but make it quality time. Quality time means no phone.
No, exactly. I think there should be baskets in places that you have to leave your phone when you walk in. You know, I've heard that companies do that when there's a meeting. They have a basket and they make everybody put their phone in the basket, which...
Well, there are restaurants that are doing that now, too.
Well, I think it's great because it is really easy just to look at your phone. And you know what? If you hear a buzz, you want to look. But it can wait.
Exactly.
It's waited for so many years. But I think, Sari, it's so tough because, you know, you and I grew up without the phones, and we know it works. It's fine if you don't have a phone. If somebody needs you, they will get you eventually, whether it's on a house phone if you don't have one, whether they drive over, whatever it is. And most things that you're on the phone, I'm not going to say most, but many things that people text you with can wait. It doesn't need you don't need an answer right this second, except if you want one. That goes into the immediate gratification. My perfect segue I just did, because let's talk about stores. How the stores, people come into the stores where they don't want to bring their children into a toy store because the children want 10 toys and they don't know how to say no. You have a store. What do you see going on with the stores?
Well, we just actually downsized our toy area, so we're slowly changing over and carrying the cream of the crop. We're doing a lot more arts and crafts for the younger children, and pretty much non-messy arts and crafts, because today's parents are busy. They have enough to do. They don't need a mess. But what fun to find something that your child likes to do, that they can do by themselves, that's easy cleanup, and then they have something to put on the refrigerator to give to grandma. I mean, so much fun. Do I have an issue? Yeah. I took my kids to toy stores. My kids knew that if they went to a toy store, they had a budget. And I was in control of the budget. I mean, what's happening, you know, with my kids, it was like, okay, yeah, I want you to have it, so I don't care it's more than $5. Once they could read money, I couldn't play that game. If it was something big, I didn't care. If it was something I knew they would use. If it was something little and I knew it was a piece of crap and they were going to throw it away in 2 minutes, it was always
Sari,
over
hold
budget.
that thought because we're breaking for another commercial. That was so fast.
Okay.
We'll be right back with more Help My Baby Came Without Instructions. It's Baby and Toddler Instructions with Blythe Lipman on TogiNet. We'll be right back right after these.
It's words you never heard.
If you have a lot of spizzerinctum or the will to win, and you have a strong desire to be a part of your favorite sports team, the National Hockey League might be for you. Did you know that if both goalies on an NHL hockey team are injured, anyone at the game is eligible to step in and play the part? Teams have resorted to using their coaches, team owners, and even their web designers to fill in for injured goalies. It's as simple as slipping into your breezers or hockey pants. The original hockey puck was made out of frozen cow dung. The fastest puck shot on record was clocked at 114 miles per hour. And I'd like to take this opportunity to send out a special thanks to the men and women of our armed forces serving our country around the world.
It's words you never heard.
I'm Carolyn Davidson, and you can have fun challenging your words you never heard vocabulary with my free app, Too Funny for Words.
It's the Fitness Minute with fitness expert Annette Hammond.
What we eat has a big impact on our weight, but when you eat can also make an enormous difference. Women's Health magazine says that eating at the appropriate times throughout the day will help maximize fat burning and reduce hunger. They recommend to eat within 1 hour of rising. Breaking your fast and stabilizing your blood sugar sets you up for good eating habits the rest of the day. Plan to eat every 3 to 4 hours. Timing your meals will improve your fat loss by preventing excess insulin, allowing leptin to do its work on metabolism and appetite control, and balancing cortisol. Lastly, never eat within 3 hours of bedtime. Eating close to bedtime interferes with your sleep, and that increases the likelihood of overeating the next day. For the Fitness Minute, I'm Annette Hammond. Visit our Facebook fan page at Fitness Minute with Annette Hammond.
Welcome back to Baby and Toddler Instructions with Blythe Lipman on TogiNet, the hour for all moms with little ones to come for great advice, encouragement, and great ideas for all new parents. Now, back to the show with Blythe Lipman.
Well, welcome back to Baby and Toddler Instructions. I'm here with my wonderful guest, Sari Powazek from Toys and Playtime Oasis. And before the break, we were talking about shopping at stores with your little ones. But before we go any further with that, Sari, tell my listeners where they can find you.
We're on the northwest corner of Scottsdale and Thunderbird Road in Scottsdale Town Square or Center. I never remember which one. And we are, the address is 13802 North Scottsdale Road. We're just north of AZ Airtime, about 3-4 stores north of AZ Airtime.
And if parents
we are open.
Go ahead.
We're open Monday through Friday for play from 9 to 5:30, and the toy store is open also. Saturdays and Sundays we are open, but we do birthday parties and tea parties and live theater. So when we have those activities going on, the play area is closed to the public. So on the weekends, we suggest you call. If we don't have anything scheduled, then we are certainly open for play.
And if parents do not live here, can they order toys online or can they call you if they see something they want?
Yes, we do have an online presence. It's www.toysandplaytimeoasis.com.
And it's really a pretty site. I was looking at it this morning. I love the colors. Great kid colors. Anyway, so this is going to go so quickly because we're up to the last part of the show, but let me ask you quickly, what do you do when a parent comes in a store and their little one has a meltdown because they want every toy in the store? How does a parent handle that?
I've seen it go both ways. I've seen parents cave in, which I'm not a fan of, even though I say, yes, they just bought a toy. But if you take your children into a toy store, you should expect to get them something. Now, not here because we have the play area. If they're coming to play, they're coming to play. Sometimes the parent will buy them a toy, but I hear the parents say, we're coming to play, we're not getting toys today. Or you've been such a good boy or such a good girl, after we're done playing, you can pick out a toy. So, it goes both ways. But the one thing is, don't take a child into a toy store and say, we're just looking, you can't buy anything. Then why come in? All you're doing is tempting the child. When they get older, yes, they understand that and they can learn. But to me, I just don't get that.
How about if you need a gift for a birthday or something?
Then you say to the child, we're coming in. We are picking out a gift for your friend. You have a birthday party tomorrow. Remember, we're picking out a gift for your friend. We're not picking out something for you. Now, the one thing that the child is missing if they are not coming into a toy store is they're walking around and they go, oh, my gosh, look at these laser pegs. Oh, Mom, I would love to do that. Well, honey, you have money at home. Let's go home and count it and see if you have enough money to buy it. Or, okay, if you don't have enough money, let's think of some jobs that you can do to earn the money to come in and buy it. When something is delivered at their front door, they don't know to save money for something. They don't know to think of jobs that they can do around the house to earn extra money to buy something. They don't have that learning curve of waiting and patience and counting money and being excited because they bought it themselves. When my son was young, he put a skateboard on layaway, and his birthday was coming up, and my sister wanted to give him the money to buy it, to actually go in and get it for him and have it wrapped. And I said, no, you give him the $8 he has left so he can go in and buy it himself. And when he opened the envelope and he saw all those ones and he counted them out because he knew he needed $8, the look on his face was priceless. The children today are missing that.
And it doesn't take a lot of time. It's so important to teach them the responsibility and the working for something. Because, yes, of course, you know what? We're all busy, and it's easier to go buy it or order it or whatever it is. But this is how they learn. And as they're, when they're adults, then they teach their children the same things, working for something, doing jobs, just doing a job, putting the laundry into the dryer and helping mommy when they're 2 is teaching them. Even though they're young, they retain it, and it's a great place to start. So let me ask you, do you have a favorite parenting tip?
A favorite parenting tip? I just told you and it went out my head. I think the best parenting tip is if you only have a half an hour to spend with your child, make sure it is a concentrated half an hour. The child is the center of your attention at that time. Don't be pulled away by something else, because they know, and that's what they call that is quality time. They know that you've given them quality time.
And quality time is so important. What about grandparent tips?
Well, my grandparenting tricks is easy. When my daughter's around, I follow her rules. That's respectful. This is her family. When I am in charge, for example, I gave my grandkids ice cream every single day the last time the kids were out of town.
Yeah, share your story. It's so good. Share your story.
Little Ethan is a kicker like his father, and we're doing FaceTime. And he looks at his mother, and he gets this grin on his face, and he goes, Mom, Nanny's giving us ice cream every single day. And my daughter looks at him and smiles and goes, well, when I'm not there, Nanny's in charge. And the look on his face was, I thought I was going to get a rise out of you. He did not know how to respond. And this kid is one of these, he takes after, my daughter and me, where we always have a good comeback. He didn't know what to say.
I have to ask you, though, what did your daughter say anything to you when she came home? Don't give him ice cream, Mom?
Nope, not a word.
That's great. It's so true.
When the kids were little, because she had twins, so when I was there for that full month when they were first born, I followed and did everything she wanted, the way she wanted it. I did not tell her how I would do it. These were her children. She needed to do it her way, and let me tell you, she's done one hell of a job. I couldn't do the kind of job she did. She's very consistent with them, very, very firm, but she's fabulous with them.
How old are they now?
They are going to be 7 in June.
Wow,
I get to take them.
Fast.
Oh, yeah. They come here for a week now without their parents. They stay. We go hiking. We do all sorts of fun things, and it's a fabulous time. We just have a good time. And that's because she knows that, number one, I'm not going to do anything that will hurt them, which, of course, no grandparent will, but I will follow her rules. There's certain exceptions to the rule. Ice cream is one of them.
That's fun. You know what? That's so great because it's tough. I remember when Lindsay had Alex, and it was hard to be quiet. I would wait until she would ask me what to do. He's a new baby, and she would ask me, but it's really hard. If you're a new grandparent, a tip, my favorite tip, which somebody told me, is zip it. It's really hard. Wait until your kids ask you how to do something because, that's how we all learn. Again, my books, How My Baby Came Without Instructions and My Toddler Came Without Instructions, I have hundreds of tips, and I know they all work, and I've used them hundreds of times, but each baby, each family is different, and you have to find your own way for what works for you.
Right. I know when the babies were 2 weeks old, they were 3 weeks old because they had a week home by themselves. And when I got there, they were, just dead to the world because one was failing to thrive, and she was pumping, feeding, and trying to sleep and setting the alarm for every 2 hours. So after I was there about 2 weeks, she had them in the pack and play, and they weren't nursing completely yet, so she had a bottle in each mouth, and she says, you can go home. And I go, okay. So I knew she wasn't ready, but, I figured, well, it's an airplane trip back and forth. So what happens, 3 nights in a row before I leave is newborn babies always have crying jags. So I'm downstairs. Both of them are upstairs. And, of course, I won't go up there unless asked. And they came down and they said to me after the third night, can you stay? And I said, yes. And so I rearranged my trip back. And 2 weeks later, she looked at me and says, you can go home on Sunday now. I feel really much more comfortable. And I looked at her and I said, no. And she said, what? I said, no, I'm going home on Friday. She said, why? I said, because I want you and Darren to have the weekend alone with the babies without me. And, that just solidified the respect. What we want for ourselves is to be involved as much as possible, but that is not always the right thing to do. And we have to think about what is the right thing for our children who are raising their children. And if we did a good job with our kids, they're going to do a good job with theirs.
Well, what a great way to end the show. We are at the end, and I have to say goodbye to you. Thank you so much, Sari, for being on the show. I love it when you're on the show. I'm going to come in and meet your new little furry child. I'll come in the store, and thanks so much, and I will talk to you again soon. You take care.
Okay, you take care, Blythe. Thank you.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Well, I love having Sari on the show. She's so great and has such wonderful tips. Next week, it will be the first week in April. I can't believe it. And that means Connie Grunning from Peanut Butter and Wine, WHINE.com, will be telling us what's hot and what's not in April. And also Erica Komisar, she's the author of Being There, Why Prioritizing Motherhood in the First 3 Years Matters. It's going to be a great show next week. Don't forget to follow me on Facebook, Facebook Live, Twitter, Periscope, LinkedIn, Pinterest, and check out my website, mybestparentingadvice.com. And also, my books are great shower and baby gifts, so you can get them from Amazon, Barnes & Noble, go to my site. Anyway, being a parent isn't always easy, as we know, and being flexible and taking some time each day to put your phone away, go outside with your little one, is so important. So today I'd like to leave you with some of my favorite tips. When we were growing up, we always had a playroom. It was called outside. Childhood is a state of mind which ends the moment a puddle first is viewed as an obstacle instead of an opportunity. Puddles are sure opportunities to jump into and get wet. And finally, at the end of the day, your little ones should feel dirty, their hair should be messy, but their eyes should be sparkling. So it's spring. Take some time to go outside and explore the world with your little ones before they grow up. Thanks so much for tuning in. Have a great rest of your week, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.